Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And we've got a really good episode for you today. We'll be breaking down all these games for Week 16 as we're getting into the home stretch. And this is where it really gets exciting for football fans because it does mean we're inching towards the end of the season and the dark ages of the off season. But we don't think about that yet because we've got the biggest games where every single team basically there's basically playoff implications for every single one of these games. I'll kind of gloss over the few that don't have playoff implications at this point because who really cares? But there's a lot of seeding based things. There's a lot of teams fighting for their division, a lot of teams fighting for a playoff spot. And with the way some of these divisions are going, and with the way that a lot of these teams are kind of in the middle, there's a lot more teams fighting for a playoff spot at this stage than there has been in previous seasons, so that's really exciting. But before we go over the picks and the predictions, let's just do a real quick breakdown of the playoff picture for each side of the conferences, because obviously it's important to understand where everything is, to understand the implications of some of these games. So the Bills are 1 seed right now; they're 11-3. And then the Chiefs are tied with them at 11-3, so they're fighting for that spot. And the Chiefs, it's going to be interesting because the Chiefs, I mean, I'm kind of giving a little bit of it away here, but I don't see the Chiefs winning a game or losing a game the rest of the year, or at least in the regular season. The Bills have one possibly losable game, so it's possible the Chiefs slide above them. But then the Bengals are 10-4. They have the tiebreaker of the Chiefs, and they're going to be playing the Bills. So that's all those three teams. It could really shift in the next couple weeks. And then we have the Tennessee Titans at 7-7, who maybe 3 weeks ago we were like, oh yeah, they're just going to win because they have the easiest division in all of football right now. But then all of a sudden they kept losing. The Jaguars kept winning. All of a sudden they've won a few in a row here, and they're 7-8. They're a half game behind the Titans. That's still with the Titans playing this week and with the Jaguars already playing this week. So we'll see what happens. But it's very possible that we have a Week 18 game at the Titans that is for that division. Like whichever team wins the division, which is crazy to think about because a few weeks ago we thought it was just in the bag. But then that's the situation there. At 5th seed, the Ravens, they're a game behind the Bengals, but it's pretty clear at this point that the Bengals are going to win this division, especially with the Ravens still without Lamar Jackson. Whether he plays this week or not, I just don't see them catching up with the Bengals because they do have the tiebreaker. The Chargers and the Dolphins are sitting at 8-6. They're kind of battling it out for those last two spots. And you have a few teams that are all in the running for this last 6-7 seed. Because you have the Patriots at 7-7. They were in that 7th spot before that absolute idiocy that was that last play against the Raiders. That puts them at 7-7 out of the way looking in. And it gives the Jags, the Jets, and the Raiders even a shot at potentially getting over that hump. I do expect it to be between the Patriots, Dolphins, and Chargers for that spot. But now the Dolphins have the tiebreaker of the Patriots. I don't remember if the Chargers played the Patriots or not, but we will see how that affects things. But yeah, I don't see the Browns, Raiders, or Steelers getting in, but we can go over those scenarios. The Jets losing to the Jags just on Thursday. And then the NFC side, we have the Eagles firmly in the 1st seed. It would take an absolute catastrophe at this point for them to lose that. Jalen Hurts is not going to play this week. It's going to be Minshew. We'll talk about that. But I just don't see, they'd have to lose all 3 of their games, and the Vikings would have to win out because of that tiebreaker that the Eagles have over them. And then, like I said, the Vikings at the 2nd seed, they need to keep winning because the 49ers are at 3. They're only a game behind them. And then this is where the tiebreakers become important because right now the 49ers have a better conference record than the Vikings. So that's a major factor. If the 49ers end up tied with the Vikings, they're going to get that 2nd seed. So it's important for the Vikings to keep winning there. And then the Bucs are 6-8. They're at the 4 seed right now and could easily still lose this division if they have a couple more bad weeks. I still see them winning it, but we'll see. You got the Cowboys that are the 5th seed, and then the Giants and Commanders. So all 3 of the wild card spots are currently NFC East teams, which is just mind-blowing. And this is where it gets really interesting. We have the Seahawks and the Lions, both at 7-7, firmly at 500. And then you have the Packers at 6-8, which I hate to see because no matter how bad the Packers have looked this season, I do not want to see Aaron Rodgers have a shot in the playoffs. I don't care. Like I'm not too tough skin to admit that I'm still terrified of Rodgers regardless of the team he's playing with. So hopefully he doesn't get in. He shouldn't, but we'll see. And then the Lions and Seahawks are the really interesting teams because the Commanders, I think the Lions would have the tiebreaker over the Commanders. I can't remember all of a sudden, but they have the tiebreaker. They don't have the tiebreaker of the Seahawks, so it's important for the Seahawks to keep losing. But the Lions could easily sneak into one of those last couple spots. So we'll see what happens, but it should be exciting. The Panthers and Saints are really only still alive because the Buccaneers in that division. But a lot of factors still in play as we now head into these predictions. So now let's go over Week 16. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Jaguars already beat the Jets 19-3. I'm not going to say I would have picked the Jaguars in my predictions, but I'm not going to count that towards what I got right and wrong. Obviously, because I'm recording this after the game, and I'm not going to expect you to give me the benefit of the doubt there. We'll start off with the home team, Giants at Vikings. It should be really exciting. It's getting kind of obnoxious listening to all the fellow Vikings fans complain about not getting white helmets for that game. If you haven't heard, the Vikings are doing a whiteout where they have the full whites, they have their normal purple helmets, and then they're painting the field, like the logo and then the 2 end zones are going to be kind of painted white, and they're telling all the fans to show up and wear white, which if we can get that many fans to all wear white and do the Skol chant, that would look amazing, and I really hope that happens. I don't think it'll be quite as successful as they hope it to be, but Jefferson tweeted it, and a lot of other players tweeted to wear white, so hopefully they do, because that would look cool. But anyway, it'll be a whole Penn State thing, but it's annoying having fans complain at this point with us being 11-3, just complaining about not getting white helmets. But you know what? It's fine. But for the game itself, it should be interesting. The Vikings, I think, can definitely get home to Daniel Jones. I am worried about Saquon Barkley, although he's not really the running back he used to be. Still playing really well. He's just not that, oh my gosh, we're going to get killed by this running back kind of guy. And our run defense isn't the best, but definitely not as bad as our pass defense. I'm just concerned about Daniel Jones in terms of his running ability. We really got gashed by the Bills in terms of designed run plays, and Daniel Jones has really been utilized well by Brian Dabble, one of those, in terms of getting him to become that running quarterback, getting him to be a little more comfortable in the pocket. He was a statue in recent years, and now all of a sudden he's really had a transformation there. I'm not very worried about these Giants receivers, but I'm worried about our corners and our secondary because we can really make any wide receiver look like a good wide receiver. So we'll see how it goes with the defense, but I am pretty confident that our offense can hold steady against these Giants. It'll be some last second, field goal to win the game by 1 probably, because that's the way this season's been working out. But on Christmas Eve, maybe there'll be a Christmas miracle and we can win handily. That being said, I am going to predict the Vikings to win this game. If we don't win the game, I think Thibodeau, their edge rusher, is going to be a major factor in that. But we'll have to see if Darrisaw's feeling good enough. Hopefully he can go up against them and play well. But our edge needs to be set by that offensive line. Otherwise, Kirk Cousins is going to get hit a lot more, and I get really nervous. Only 3 games left. We just have to keep our guys healthy, and I'm really nervous that something's going to eventually happen to Kirk Cousins if he keeps getting hit like this. But that being said, Vikings, I predict to win that one. Bills, big playoff implications there, but I'm not going to spend much time on it because the Bills should kill the Bears. Justin Fields is the only good thing about the Bears right now, and he's not going to quite do enough. Josh Allen and the Bills should get it done and improve to 12-3 and retain that number one spot for one more week. Saints and Browns, I'm going to go with the Browns. I think that Nick Chubb can single-handedly win. At this point, the Saints had a few good games at the start of the season, but at this point, they've really fallen off. Andy Dalton's clearly not going to be the guy that leads them, and I think the Browns, especially at home, should take that one. They should improve to 7-8 and begin to have a little bit of a shot at that wild card spot. I don't think they'll get it, but still they'll remain in the hunt. The Titans, now with the Jaguars somehow breathing down their necks, should be able to get it done against the Texans. The Texans are kind of that team that are scaring. I mean, they're kind of like the Broncos of the last couple years. Not this year, but like there was a couple years where the Broncos would be that team that never really won games, but they would scare teams and they would play right with them and lose close games all the time and everything. The Texans are kind of that team that sneaks up behind you and keeps it close. I do expect the Titans to win this one, though, with so much on the line, and Derrick Henry could single-handedly win this game for them. But the Titans also have been really struggling and haven't been able to do much on offense the last few weeks, so we'll see what happens. But I do think the Titans will win. Seahawks at the Chiefs. The Seahawks very possibly could be fighting for their lives in this week. They might need to win this week, I think, in order to still make it to the playoffs. But the Chiefs, it could be possible for the Seahawks to win in a situation where the Chiefs have less to play for. But with home field advantage being so important, the Chiefs are still going to try and win this game, and I think they will do it handily. I think Mahomes should have a good game against the Seahawks defense that is definitely not the Legion of Boom anymore like in recent years. And the Seahawks offense, after being one of the best offenses in the league all season, or the first half of the season anyway, has kind of tapered off now. And Geno Smith isn't looking quite as good as he did at the start of the season. So I do think that the Seahawks will win, or the Chiefs will win that one. Bengals at Patriots, another important game where the Patriots could potentially be pushed right up against the brink of elimination if they lose. But the Bengals, again, this is another one where I just don't see the Bengals losing this game. I think that they understand the importance of playing at home, and they are going to want home field advantage a little bit because the Bengals play the Bills next week. So if the Bengals win this one and then they beat the Bills next week, they'd be the second seed, I believe, which I'm not sure if I necessarily want because that would make the Chiefs the 1 seed and get the bye and everything. But obviously it's not about what I want, it's what happens, and I do think the Bengals will win this one and further their chances of getting a higher seed. And I mean, Joe Burrow's just been playing like nuts, and the Patriots just lost to the Raiders off of such a boneheaded play. They're not going to be fully in their right headspace after losing a game like that. Lions at Panthers. This is interesting because you wouldn't think that a 7-7 and 5-9 team would both have about as high of a chance of making the playoffs as each other. But the Panthers need to, if the Panthers were to win out and the Bucs even lost 1 or 2, the Panthers could still easily end up winning that division. The Lions, like I said, they have a chance if they win out. They could easily be in that 7th spot. I think the Lions win this one. The Panthers are kind of on a nosedive a little bit. They've won a couple of the last few games, but they haven't been against good opponents. I see the Lions winning this game. Their offense is just playing too good right now. And the way they picked apart the last few teams they played, they had kind of a little bit of a lull against the Jets, but still got it done. I think they'll beat the Panthers here. Falcons at Ravens, and at this point, I'm going to look it up because I'm honestly not sure. Will Lamar play this week? And it looks like they're hopeful he'll be back, but we'll have to see. It's still not 100%. Even if he does play, It's going to be a tough game because the Falcons are also technically fighting for that division. That's how bad their division is. They're 5-9 and they still have a shot. I do think the Ravens will win regardless. They only scored 3 last week and lost to the Steelers, so it's not looking good. But I do think Huntley might have a little bit of resurgence. The Falcons are just not a good enough team, even to beat a Tyler Huntley-led Baltimore team. I say the Ravens win that one. Commanders at 49ers. This is tough because the 49ers, I keep wanting to think that Brock Purdy is going to have a collapse. He's coming in. He was the 3rd seed going into the season, Mr. Irrelevant. And obviously that lights a fire under you, but also it just makes me feel like there's got to be something's got to give at some point is what I'm trying to say, in terms of him having a little bit of a welcome to the NFL moment. And it's difficult because this 49ers team is brilliantly put together. The Shanahan offense, you could really put a lot of quarterbacks in there and they would have success. So it's not like Purdy needs to throw for 300 yards a game in order for the 49ers to win, especially with how good their defense is. But at the same time, you need to at least play well enough to be a good game manager. And I feel like something's going to happen eventually. And it's why I think it's so important the Vikings end up playing in the 2nd seed so that they can host Brock Purdy, and Purdy has to be in that situation. Assuming the Vikings win the first round, which is already, who knows. But I'm talking too much about all this. I think the 49ers will still win, especially at home. The Commanders, I just don't trust their offense enough. And their defense is still without Chase Young. I got to pick the 49ers with this one. As much as I would love to play the Commanders in the first round, as a Vikings fan, I would love to see the Commanders. I see the Lions knocking them out because their offense just is not good enough. I think the 49ers win this game, improve to 11-4, and put more pressure on the Vikings to keep winning. Eagles at Cowboys without Jalen Hurts. Gardner Minshew is going to be starting this game for the Eagles. Jaguars extraordinaire, Gardner Minshew. Not the worst backup to have in the world, but still not a good enough backup, I think, to beat this Cowboys defense. Honestly, with the way the Eagles have been playing, it still could be close, even with Gardner Minshew. I just don't think he's going to win against this Cowboys pass rush, against some of the secondary. I mean, it's really good. And again, I think it'll be close, but I say the Cowboys win this one and improve to 11-4. Honestly, as interesting as it should be with the backup QB and with this being an age-old division rivalry, it's honestly one of the least relevant games this week because the Cowboys are pretty clearly in that number 4 spot. Number 5 spot. They'd have to lose out basically to lose that spot. And the Eagles are pretty firmly in the number 1 seed as it stands right now. So honestly, one of the least relevant ones, but I think the Cowboys will win. Raiders and Steelers, the loser of this game is going to be eliminated from playoff contention. I think the way the Raiders won that game last week, it's going to be one of those where people look at it and say, oh man, they've won such a good game. They've got so much adrenaline coming off of it. They're facing a Steelers team that, offensively is really miserable. But I think the Steelers will win because if I've learned anything from being a Vikings fan, it's that when you win crazy games like that, you have a little bit of a dip next week, which is something I forgot to mention with the Giants and Vikings. I'm a little concerned that the Vikings will, after pulling off such a huge upset win, that they might come out a little lackluster against the Giants. For that same reason, even though I picked the Vikings to win that one, I'm picking the Raiders to lose because they suck at away games first of all so far this season, and I just feel like winning in such a crazy way is going to throw them off a little bit, and the Steelers should take this one, improve to a shocking 7-8 based on the way we saw the Steelers start off their season. Packers at Dolphins playing on Christmas Day. This is an interesting one. The Packers I'm really rooting for the Dolphins here. The Packers can be eliminated from playoff contention if they lose this game, and I am predicting the Dolphins will win. I do think it's going to be a really close one. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go down swinging. He's going to put up a fight this whole way through. He's not going to relinquish anything. But I think back at home, the Dolphins have a shot to kind of look back and reestablish. I think Tyreek Hill has more speed than anyone in the Packers secondary. So I do think the Dolphins should knock off the Packers here and improve to 9-6, a very important game for them. And I'm pretty sure they'd clinch the playoffs if they won this game, but we'll see what happens. They might still need a loss from another team, but should be an interesting one. I'm going to skip right over the Broncos and Rams because it doesn't matter. Buccaneers at Cardinals. The Bucs need to win this game to continue to build their case for winning the NFC South. I do still think they'll win the NFC South. They have one of the easier schedules remaining. I do think they'll win this game. The Cardinals are just a dumpster fire at this point. Kyler Murray's out for the season. It's just a whole thing. They're 1-7 at home, a worse record at home than away. So the Buccaneers should come in. Brady should pick this team apart, and it might honestly be a little bit of a blowout. And then finally, Chargers at Colts. The Colts, even up 33-0, couldn't beat the Vikings. Their offense just completely was stagnant, and the amount of psychological toll it would take to give up that big of a lead, I think might be too much for the Colts to overcome in this one. Plus, the Chargers know they're firmly in a playoff spot. I don't think they're going to relinquish that. I think the Chargers will win that one. So, those are my predictions of Week 16. And on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think I'm going to, instead of doing my normal breaking down every game and what happened, I think I'm just going to be going over the major storylines and then going over kind of a more full breakdown of the playoff picture. I'm going to kind of go over some scenarios if certain teams win in the next couple weeks, clinching scenarios, all that. I think I'll go over that on Tuesday or Wednesday. But this should be a really good week. I'm really excited to see how these games shake out. And I'll have a good Christmas Eve watching these games with my cousins and my family because we're all big on football. So really excited. Thanks so much for watching this one. Please make sure you like this video if you liked it. And if you like my content, please subscribe. I'm looking to build my community. And please ask any questions you have in the comments. I just want as much interaction as I possibly can and just make good content for you guys. So thanks again so much for watching. And I'll see you on the flip side.